Today, we're doing a deep dive into business models.
Yeah, these are really the engines that make a business tick.
Whether you're just starting out or you've been at it a while, understanding these models can really give you a leg up.
Absolutely.
So we're going to break down 10 successful models,
We'll look at their strengths
real-world examples.
and hopefully spark some ideas for you.
First things first.
Yeah.
What exactly do we mean by business model?
Yeah, it's more than just, making money.
Right.
It's the whole system,
Yeah.
how you create value for the customer
Deliver that value.
and how you get value back in return. That's the key.
It's like the DNA of your business.
Exactly.
So if you understand these models, it's like fine-tuning that engine for peak performance.
And a well-tuned engine means a smoother ride. So, ready to dive into our first model?
Hit me with it.
Subscriptions. Hugely popular, especially in this digital age.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love a good subscription service these days? But what makes them so successful? Is it just convenience for the consumer?
Well, convenience is a big part, sure. But for businesses, the beauty of subscriptions is the recurring revenue.
Makes sense.
It's predictable.
Yeah.
It's consistent.
Yeah.
Makes planning, budgeting, everything so much easier.
Yeah.
Much more stable than relying on one-time purchases.
It's like having a steady paycheck versus, like, gig work,
Exactly. And it allows you to build those long-term relationships with your customers.
which is what it's all about, right? Loyalty.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you think about companies like Netflix,
Okay, yeah.
they've really mastered this. They're not just throwing content out there.
Wow.
They're using data. They're analyzing viewing habits. They're predicting trends. They're curating that library very strategically.
So it's not just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Not all.
They're really putting thought into it.
Absolutely. It's very strategic.
So for someone thinking about a subscription model for their business, what are the key takeaways?
Consistency is key. Whether it's content, software updates, a physical product, you have to keep delivering that value. Exceed those expectations. That's what keeps people subscribed.
Keep them coming back for more.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get creative with it. It can work in a lot of different industries.
Now, speaking of creative models, let's jump into one that's become super popular, especially in the software world. The freemium model.
Right. This one's all about that balance. Offering something valuable for free,
Right.
but also enticing users to upgrade,
Yeah.
to get the full experience.
A great example is Dropbox, right? I mean, their free storage is pretty generous,
Oh, for sure.
but they strategically limit it
Which is smart.
to encourage you to make that jump to a paid plan if you need more. So how do you actually implement a freemium model the right way?
You have to really understand what your premium offering is.
Yeah.
What are those key features or benefits that are going to make people say, all right, this is worth paying for?
It's like identifying those pain points that your premium offering solves.
Exactly. You need that compelling free tier to hook people in.
Right.
But then those strategic limitations to gently nudge them towards that upgrade.
It's like giving someone a taste of something delicious. It's good on its own, but it makes you want more.
Exactly. Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about a model that's totally changed the game. The marketplace model.
Right. Connecting buyers and sellers online. We're talking Amazon, eBay, Etsy, even platforms like Uber and Airbnb.
And the beauty of this model, the reason these companies can grow so big,
Yeah.
they don't actually manage any inventory themselves.
Right. They're just the platform.
Exactly. They provide the infrastructure, the
Yeah.
digital space for those transactions to happen.
Like they built them all, but they don't own any of the stores.
Exactly.
But building a successful marketplace, that's got to have its own unique challenges. What are some of those?
Well, trust is a big one.
Oh, for sure. Especially when you're talking about strangers interacting online,
Yes.
exchanging money, goods, services.
So these platforms have to work really hard to establish that trust.
Right.
Verification systems, user reviews, secure payment gateways.
Creating that sense of security and accountability. Right.
Exactly. Okay, look, move on to a model that's everywhere these days. E-commerce.
Yeah, and it's not just the Amazons of the world anymore.
Right.
With platforms like Shopify, drop shipping, it's so much easier for individuals to get their own online stores up and running.
Exactly. The barriers to entry are much lower.
Which is great, but also means there's more competition than ever before.
That's the trade-off.
So how do you stand out as an e-commerce entrepreneur in such a crowded space?
Well, you gotta find a way to differentiate yourself. You can't be everything to everyone.
Right.
So find your niche. What are you passionate about?
Yeah, what's going to make you stand out?
Exactly. And then think about your story.
Oh, interesting.
Consumers, they connect with brands that have a story.
Right. That authenticity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to a model that's all about making choices easier. The aggregator model.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So think about it. We're bombarded with choices constantly.
Oh, yeah.
What to eat, what to watch, what to buy.
Decision fatigue is real.
It is.
So,
And that's where aggregators come in.
okay.
They curate those choices for you. They do the heavy lifting, so you're not overwhelmed.
So like those food delivery apps.
Exactly. Or travel booking sites, they compare prices, reviews, all that.
So you don't have to. Makes sense.
Right.
So if you're thinking about an aggregator model, what's the most important thing to keep in mind?
User experience.
Oh, for sure. If it's not easy to use,
It's got to be seamless.
people will just go back to doing it the old way.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk about a model that leverages something you've already created. The licensing model.
All right, tell me more.
So this is all about your intellectual property,
Okay.
your patents, trademarks, copyrights.
So you're letting other people use them.
In exchange for a fee, right? Think about like Disney.
Yeah, they license their characters for everything.
Exactly. Or software companies licensing their technology.
So you can scale your business without starting from scratch every time.
Exactly. But you got to protect yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Make sure you have strong agreements in place.
Right, to define exactly how your IP can be used.
Exactly. Now, on to a model that's all about replicating a proven system, the franchise
A
model.
business in a box.
Right.
The classic example being McDonald's.
Oh, absolutely. They've got it down to a science.
Right.
Consistent branding, consistent experience.
Across thousands of locations. It's impressive.
It is. But it takes work. Franchisers have to provide training, support.
Yeah, to make sure those brand standards are maintained.
Exactly. Now, for a model that's really taken off online, affiliate marketing.
Okay, this one's interesting.
So it's about leveraging the influence of others to promote your products.
Right, like influencers, bloggers,
Exactly. They recommend your product to their audience.
and you pay them a commission if someone buys through their link.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
So for this model to be successful, I imagine trust is huge.
Huge. Those affiliates, they have to genuinely believe in the products they're recommending.
Otherwise, people can see right through it.
Exactly. Authenticity is key. All right. Let's talk about a model that's disrupted traditional retail. Direct-to-consumer, or D2C.
Right, cutting out the middleman,
Exactly. Selling directly to your customer.
like Warby Parker with their glasses,
Here's an example.
or Casper mattresses.
You get it?
So what are the big advantages of going D2C?
Stronger customer relationships.
Okay,
You control the whole experience.
right,
And you have access to all that valuable customer data.
which you can then use to tailor your products and marketing.
Exactly. It's all about that direct connection. Speaking of expertise, let's wrap up with the consulting model.
Right, the model of sharing your knowledge.
Exactly. Packaging your skills and experience as a service.
So whether you're a marketing whiz or a tech guru.
There's a market for it.
But how do you stand out as a consultant? I imagine that's pretty competitive.
It is. And that's why specialization is key.
Yeah, you really got to be the go-to expert in your niche.
Exactly. That's how you build a strong reputation.
Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on something you mentioned before.
Okay.
Combining models.
Right.
You don't always have to pick just one.
Absolutely not. Some of the most successful businesses out there, they've blended elements of different models.
Yeah, like those meal kit services.
Perfect example, you've got the subscription element, the curated experience, often even partnerships with chefs.
Right. They've taken two models and made something even better.
Exactly. And that brings us to a key takeaway, adaptability,
Right. These models are a great starting point.
a framework.
But the real magic happens when you make them your own.
100%. Understand the principles.
Right.
And then get creative.
It's like having a toolbox, right?
I like that.
You don't use every tool for every job.
Yeah.
You pick the right ones,
Yeah.
and sometimes you modify them to fit your needs.
And that's what makes entrepreneurship so exciting. It's all about experimenting and finding what works best for you.
So, any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Don't be afraid to try things out. Test, iterate, pivot if you need to. Building a business takes time.
Yeah, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Exactly. But it's a marathon worth running.
Couldn't agree more. Well, there you have it. 10 replicable business models to get those entrepreneurial wheels turning.
We hope this deep dive has sparked some inspiration for you.
And until next time, happy innovating, everyone.